Hey, welcome to the Game or Die podcast. This is episode 70. I'm your host, Ryan Moore. It's been a while, and I've been playing some games in the meantime, and man, it's just been a great day. First off, it's actually my dad's birthday, so Dad, if you're listening to this, happy birthday. But basically, I just kind of wanted to talk about some games that I've been playing. Unfortunately, my gaming schedule has been kind of weird over the last couple of months here. I've been doing a lot more sponsored streaming on Twitch, which is what we're doing right now. It's live on Twitch. You can always follow me at the Madman007 on Twitch. But basically what's been going on is I've been getting these sponsorships and I've been doing those on stream. And those stream sponsors are like 2 hours each, 2 to 3 to even 4 hours at some point. And a lot of them are mobile games, microtransaction games, and I've been playing them and I've been having an okay time with them, but that has kind of eaten up into my gaming schedule a little bit. And unfortunately, this summer, man, for whatever reason, I hit kind of a lull in the summer gaming, kind of atmosphere in my life. I have not been playing a whole lot of interesting games. And I've been trying to find something that has been really interesting to me, and just nothing has kind of popped out. I've talked on this podcast before, especially this year, because this year is the year of gaming. It's the year that all the big games are coming out. And for the first part of the year, yeah, there was a lot of games where I was like really hot and heavy with some games. But for whatever reason, this summer, which has had a lot of bigger games come out, nothing has really interested me. I started getting into a game that everyone was raving about. For whatever reason, and this is kind of just me and my personal hangups, I've been trying to gravitate away from big AAA games. I'm not a big fan right now of what games are doing in the big AAA space. If you don't know about AAA games, basically they're the big budget blockbuster by the major studios. EA, Microsoft, Sony, Activision, Blizzard, I wanted to say THQ, but they don't technically exist anymore. But the big publishers that make the big franchise games, the yearly release games, the ones that come out, in October, November, December, the releases have definitely slowed down. They're more risk adverse and they don't have that big, gigantic pull that they used to on me. Ubisoft is one of those that I have just fallen away from over the last couple of years. I would have said, and I did say this back in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, around until 2020, Ubisoft was my favorite publisher. They were putting out Assassin's Creed games, which I wasn't really super into the Assassin's Creed series, but Black Flag is one of my favorite games of all time, the pirate one. That is just a phenomenal game. Same thing with Assassin's Creed Origins, the one where you play as a Magi from Egypt back in I can't even remember what time period, but oh man, that game had me captivated. They have the Trials games, which is a motorbike racing game. It's not even really racing. It's just trying to get over hurdles. It's kind of like a more modern Excite Bike in a way. Time Trials and just a lot of other extra really fun games. Even the Far Cry series. I was really into the Far Cry series for Far Cry 3, 4 especially. 5 is probably my favorite out of all of them. even especially New Dawn. I got really into the Far Cry New Dawn game, and then even 6 a couple years ago. I loved those games. Ghost Recon, Tom Clancy, like, man, Ubisoft was making so many great games. And over the last few years, they have really, really hit a turning point of where they are making bare bones, just throwing the same old crap out there with a new coat of paint. It's not impressing anyone anymore. And especially, and this is kind of the real big part, is they are going hot and heavy with the social justice type stuff. All that propaganda that's been going on in a lot of game studios. These developers have a chip on their shoulder. The story writers are, pushing political and social agendas, and the games themselves are suffering for it. And so it's been just kind of a really weird point in gaming for me where I'm just like, man, none of this stuff is very good anymore. I mean, we're seeing it across all media, comics, video games, movies, TV shows. There's a lot of crap out there, and the crap is unfortunately, the bigger stuff that's coming out and the majority of what's coming out. You'll get a good one every once in a while, for sure. But for the most part, man, everything is a stinker now. And so I've been trying to move away from the bigger budget titles. Unfortunately, all we have left is the indie scene. And the indie scene, again, used to be really good. Back in 2012, when the indie scene started really rising up, that was an amazing time. 2012, 2013, 2014, we were having incredible gaming experiences by very small developers. You have games like Gunpoint, Gone Home, and a bunch of other stuff. And Gone Home, I'll say this, I think it was a really interesting game, but again, it had some political stuff in there, some social agenda, trying to push the lesbian stuff. And it's just like, why is this in here? This has no reason to be in here other than, the developers have a different style color to their hair and all that. It's really upsetting to be able to witness that type of stuff getting in the way of a good storytelling experience. But for the most part, most indie games don't have that, or didn't anyways. Now, again, 2017, 2018 was around the time where most indie games started pushing that stuff really hard. And now the entire gaming landscape, AAA, big budget titles, and indie scene are both pushing that crap. And I've had it. So I've stopped playing a lot of games. I've stopped buying games almost completely. I couldn't even tell you the last real video game that I bought. So I've been really struggling to find something to play. Everyone was talking about a game called Dave the Diver. I looked it up. I gave it probably about 30 seconds and I went, ooh, I don't know about this. But I was just hearing nonstop people talking about this game. Unfortunately, I stopped listening to a lot of gaming podcasts as well because, again, that social and political agenda is just, that propaganda is everywhere. It is in the articles that we read. It is in the podcasts that we listen to and the music that we listen to and, the voices that we hear. It's just everywhere. And I just was so against it. I pushed it away. I have not been in the gaming scene very much lately, and it's because of all that crap. So the few people that I do still listen to, and my Discord server and stuff like that, I do listen to. And I said, man, it looks like a lot of people are talking about this Dave the Diver game. It doesn't look extremely interesting, but I hear it's great. It's amazing. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. So I took a chance. I bought it. And it was the first game that I bought in a very long time over this year. And I started playing it and I went, okay, cool. But it's a game that I really want to like. I really want to like it. And I do enjoy it for the most part, but I would probably never play it if I didn't buy it already. If I didn't have the investment of, hey, I already bought this game and I've already sunk enough hours into it where I can't get a refund, I'd probably not play it. The reason why is this. It's because the game itself is too divided. It has way too much dialogue. Most of it is not that great. It's fine. It's okay. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But it tries to be too many things. It tries to be the ultimate video game. And by what I mean by that is that the video game itself has too many one-off mechanics. It has something like, okay, you go and you swim in the sea, and then you shoot a couple fish and get them for your sushi restaurant. So you go at the evening time to get the sushi restaurant. You have to pour a glass of sake or, alcohol or water or whatever it is for a patron. And then you have the chef make the food for you, and then you bring it over. Those are a couple different types of mechanics. And then you have these one-off mechanics where you go deep sea diving and you find a sunken ship. So you have to go to a guy to buy a laser, like an underwater laser, to cut out part of the sunken ship's hull so that you can get in there and find a box. You find the box and you take it over to another guy and you give that thing to him, and then he'll upgrade your, the oxygen tank or whatever it is. And it's just on top of all the dialogue, which is invasive. You have these one-off game mechanics where they pour so much time and energy into it, and it never shows up again. You have these boss fights that are completely different every time. You have these game mechanics that are completely every different time. You have this menu system that is so over-bloated with stuff that is just there to be there. There's no real reason for a lot of it. And that's where I really struggle with trying to play the game. That's one of the major issues with the game. But like I said, the biggest issue for me is the dialogue. It's not that it's poorly written. It's fine from what I can tell. I really don't, have a good thing to say about it or a bad thing to say about it, other than it's too much. It constantly interrupts the gameplay. If you are a gameplay person, you will hate this game. If you are a story person, you'll probably like it because that's the majority of the game is story. And I am a person that loves story in video games. That is like, I'm probably about 60-40. 60% story, 40% gameplay. That's kind of like sweet ground for me. Obviously 50-50 would be the best, but I kind of tend to gravitate towards stories in games and enjoying the story, even if the gameplay kind of sucks a little bit. But this game's dialogue just stops the flow of the game every moment that it possibly can. It is too much at all times. I've played, I think I have about 5-ish hours into that game at this point. I feel like I've played about an hour of actual gameplay. Everything else has been just sitting there, watching this dialogue scroll across the screen because it's not voice acted, because it's an indie game. They can't afford voice actors, and it's, a few dudes. It seems like it's a very small game development studio, but man, it just takes forever. It is so laborious to get through one single day in that game. So I've kind of talked about what the game is, but not what it's about. Basically, you are a character called Dave, who is a scuba diver. And your friend from way back when calls you up and says, hey, I'm at this remote island. It's a little tiny remote island off of like Honolulu or something. It's kind of in the Pacific Ocean, I believe. It's a really special spot, and I want you to get down here and scuba dive with me. Okay. So you get on a plane, Dave gets on a plane, goes to the island. The friend says, all right, this spot is a little bit weird. I want you to go down and get some fish. And then tomorrow we're going to do the same thing. But every day, the location changes. It like shifts. It's a roguelike, which I hate that term, but it's something that just constantly changes throughout the entire game. So no experience is the exact same technically. And you get different fish every day. You get different story stuff happening every day and all this. So the gameplay is centered around you scuba diving in the morning and afternoon, and then the evening running and bussing a local sushi place. Those are the main mechanics. Scuba diving in the morning and afternoon, serving sushi in the evening. That one day in gameplay takes about 5-ish minutes, maybe. One day in the game, because of all the dialogue and all the cutscenes and all the story and all this and that, all the interruptions, takes like half an hour to 45 minutes. It's too much. And like I said, I'm into the story of games. So I'm sitting there, and I'm a slow reader, unfortunately. It takes me a long time to really read and comprehend text. So I sit there and I read this stuff, and maybe some of it goes a little bit too fast. Maybe some of it's a little bit boring, so I'll skip over it. But for the most part, I sit there and read pretty much everything that's read. Most of the jokes land. Most of them are fine. They're okay, but it's just not that interesting where it needs to be 15 minutes of straight dialogue and story, and then 2 minutes of gameplay, and then back to the text is too much. So I've been playing it on and off over the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to finish it more for the fact that I've already bought it. I've already given my money towards it. It's mine to own, so I should probably just finish it. And the only reason I'm doing that, and I'm trying to kind of curb myself from feeling a duty or a sense to finish a video game, it's because there's not really anything else that's interesting to me right now. There's not much coming out. There's not much out right now that I'm really interested in. Several months back, when Resident Evil 4 remake came out, I was super ready to go in that, bought it, and then I just dropped it like a big old hot potato. And I really haven't gone back since. Unfortunately, I'm having some weird issues with my video games right now on my PC, where my PC is just kind of crapped out. I don't know what's going on. I'm dropping a ton of frames. My CPU is spiking. It's a really, decent computer. It's not the best, unfortunately, now. It's several years old, but it should definitely be able to play that game. And I'm just, for whatever reason, having a big old issue with it. So I'm not sure what I want to do. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about it, but I will finish it before the end of the year so that I can give my thoughts on the Game of the Year discussion. But yeah, there's just not a whole lot of games that are coming out that are really, really interesting and grabbing me. My wife and I love Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, but we haven't gone back to it for a couple months now. And that's more on me. Is just I haven't felt the desire to play video games right now. And it's a big bummer because, hey, it's my hobby, right? It's the thing I do for fun. But, there's our times in our lives where we just don't want to do the things that we normally like doing. There's just a lull, and that's okay. I have this guy in my Discord group that really struggles with that concept. Even last night, he was posting about how he really likes playing Final Fantasy. Like, he's been playing Final Fantasy. I think they're on 14, 15, or 16. I can't remember which one he's playing. But he finished it, and he's been saying for like the last month, there's nothing that I'm playing that is as enjoyable as Final Fantasy to me. Is there any games? And I'm giving a bunch of different options. I'm throwing out our game of the month. I'm throwing out this game that I'm playing. I'm throwing out a couple other different suggestions. I'm giving them puzzle games and RPGs and, walking simulators and all this type of stuff. And he hasn't really responded, unfortunately. But I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm just going, man, there's not really anything that I want to play right now. Nothing is grabbing me right now. And I'm really kind of bummed out about it, more for the fact that this is supposed to be like one of the best years in gaming. And man, I've got like a handful, maybe 5 contenders for game of the year, and that's it. I definitely don't have a top 10 list game list yet. I haven't really thought too much about it, but there's definitely a do I kind of want to? Do I kind of not want to? So that's kind of where I am with Dave the Diver, which is really the only game I've been playing over the last several weeks, other than a couple others that I'll talk about at the end. But that's kind of what I've been playing. The next segment I always like doing is what am I looking forward to, especially in this year when it's games, right? What am I looking forward to? Well, oh man, I kind of want to talk about this just because I want to talk about it because I haven't yet. So, one of my favorite games of all time is Red Dead Redemption. It's a Western game. It came out in 2010. Yeah, 2010. And I had to think about it there for a second. And I have an amazing history with this game. One, for the fact that I got the game early from my distributors because I was working at a game store at the time. And I got the game early. And I was playing it with my best friend at the time. And we had this glitch that happened where the horse just started in the carriage, started bouncing up and down, like convulsing, and it looked like it was possessed. And I busted out my phone and I recorded it and I put it on YouTube. And this is in 2010, so YouTube has been around for a couple of years, but I was staunchly against YouTube for probably until 2017 is really when I started looking at YouTube as kind of more of an entertainment source. I didn't really highlight or upload or watch anything on YouTube except for that video. I was just like, I need to put this online so I can save it. And so I had my phone, I recorded a really crappy video because I think we were on iPhone 3GS at that point. It was just like the third iteration of the iPhone, third or fourth. And I put it on YouTube and it got over 250,000 views on that one video alone. It's called Red Dead Demonic Horse. If you ever want to look that up, you can go look it up. My friend and I are cracking up. He's laughing hysterically. So am I. I could not believe this glitch. And in our friendship, we had a bunch of glitches over the years that we just died laughing about. I remember we were playing WCW versus NWO World Tour or WCW versus NWO Revenge. I can't remember which one it was, but I think he or I was playing as Sting, and Sting dove through the ropes, hit the guardrail on the outside, and then just died and spasmed out for the rest of the match. And we let the match go on for like 30 minutes because we were just dying laughing because Sting basically killed himself. There was another time we were playing Rush 2 on the Nintendo 64, and there's this stunt course that there's this stunt course in the game that you can kind of just play around with and drive cars and make them do all these cool flips and stunts. And we got this one where we hit this corner and it started flipping. It landed, but it didn't blow up. And the cars are pretty fragile in that game, so they blow up a lot, very, very frequently and easily. And it just hit it and it just spiraled and spiraled and spiraled. For whatever reason, the car wouldn't blow up, but it just kept flipping and spiraling, creating this gigantic score. And man, we just lost it. We were having so much fun with that. So we had some of those like really great, glitch moments in our friendship. And Red Dead Demonic Horse was one of them. I put that online. Rockstar got in contact with me and they said, hey, how did you come across this glitch? And I kind of explained to them, hey, I kind of came across it, didn't really, here was the mission that I was on. Here's the location of it. This is what happened right before I started recording. And they said, thank you very much. Is there anything we can do for you? And I said, don't take the glitch out of the game. It is hilarious. It's the best thing that's happened to me in video games in a very long time. Please, please, please don't destroy that glitch. Don't kill that bug. And they said, well, is there anything else? And I said, well, I do run a game store, and if you have any promotional items, that would be really cool. And they're like, yeah, here you go. They gave me playing cards. Like, this is a lot of the stuff that they were selling in the store. Playing cards, dice, this candle that looked like a stick of dynamite. And I'm super bummed because I never burned it. I kept it as, like a trophy almost. Because, all this video gaming memorabilia stuff, no one ever uses it anyway, so it just kind of sits on a shelf and looks pretty. That candle was like special. So I held on to it. And unfortunately, I had some water damage in my house and a lot of stuff got destroyed. That was one of the things that I lost in the water damage. And I was really bummed about it because it's so stinking cool. But they sent me a bunch of stuff and a lot of DLC codes. And so I did raffles and giveaways and stuff like that. If you bought X amount of stuff at the store, here's a free DLC code and blah, blah, blah. So that was a really, really fun time. And I love Red Dead Redemption. When the second game came out in 2018, oh my gosh, I couldn't have been more excited. So a few weeks, or about a month, maybe a month and a half before that game came out, I played through the first Red Dead Redemption game, because there's technically 3 of them. Red Dead Revolver, which came out on the Xbox and PS2, and that was published by Rockstar / Take-Two, but not, or I think it was published by Capcom. Developed by Rockstar or developed by Capcom, published by Rockstar, I can't remember. It's a very linear, straightforward, arcade-style video game, but it is a Western. And then Rockstar took that name and said Red Dead Redemption, which is a full different story, different characters, different type of gameplay and all that. Then in 2018, they came out with Red Dead Redemption 2, which is technically the third Red Dead game. Anyways, I loved that game to death. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Again, just because it's so stinking well made. It is so perfect. And especially the story. The story and the characters are so well written, especially if you don't like Rockstar writing, which can be very satirical and kind of a lot of in-your-face stupid jokes. There aren't stupid jokes in this. The few jokes that there are, they're really well written. So are the characters. So are everything about that game is so well made that I just couldn't put it down. I even played the online portion twice on the Xbox and on the PC when it came to PC as well. So, man, it's just, I love that game. So here's the big thing. There's been a lot of rumors over the last couple of, last month and a half or so about Rockstar is going to be remaking Red Dead 1 in the Red Dead 2 engine. It's going to look updated. It's going to play better. It's going to have all the Red Dead 2 mechanics. And I just scoffed. I went, there's no way that's going to happen. One, that's an unrealistic rumor. Just right off the bat, that's unrealistic. Yes, we do get video game remakes all the time, but Rockstar is not going to fully remake that game. And here's the other thing is they were saying it was going to come out this summer. And I was like, they're not going to just surprise release Red Dead Redemption Remake. They're going to milk that if it was ever possible. And they were saying, oh, it's going to be on PC. It's going to be on PC. It's going to be on PC. Rockstar themselves went on a podcast back in 2010, right when Red Dead Redemption 1 came out, and they said, we're never going to be able to make a PC version of this game. It will never be on PC. It's impossible. So people were speculating, well, since it's a remake, they're going to be able to redo it. And it's just like, they're not going to remake that full game. That's a massive, 60-plus hour game. And you think they're just suddenly, without warning, hushed tones, for years and years and years, remaking this game that everyone loves? There would definitely be leaks, especially since we got GTA 6 leaks last year, I think. I can't remember. But basically, there's no way this is going to happen. It's just not going to happen. these rumors kept persisting. And I kept saying, you guys are out of your minds. There's no way this is going to happen. Then they, last weekend, they did a whole meet and greet. Like a lot of the voice actors from Red Dead 2 met up in Arizona in, I think, Tombstone, and did a whole meet and greet and signed autographs and stuff and did posters. And I was just like, that's kind of weird, but there's no way this is going to be a remake of Red Dead 1. There's no way it's going to happen. On Monday, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, it was Monday. Rockstar announced Red Dead Redemption is being re-released. It is being ported to the Switch and the PS4, the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 5 has been out since 2020. It is almost a 3-year-old console, and they're backporting it to a 13-year or they're backporting it to a 10-year-old console, the PS4. Everyone is pissed about this. Everyone is upset about this. And I am too, because I didn't get my hopes up, but man, it would have been really nice to have a Red Dead remake. I knew it wasn't going to happen. I didn't get my hopes up. But when I heard about this PS4 port and it's priced at $50, I just went, you gotta be kidding me. Really? That's what you're going for? That's what you're doing? You're just porting it to an older generation console? That makes no sense. I get porting it to the Switch because everything's on the Switch and every idiot will buy it who doesn't own it already. Even at $50, because there's the Switch tax, right? You own a Nintendo Switch, you want a game on your Switch, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for a bad product, a worse watered down version of a game. So, man, I was just like, this is such a bummer. And because there's been so much talk about Red Dead, I was like, dude, I kind of want to replay it again. Because I did replay it one time in 2018 for the first time since 2010. So I waited 8 years and I replayed it. And I had a blast. I remembered a lot of points on that game. I remember a lot of the story, but there was definitely a lot of stuff that I don't remember. And I went, oh yeah, this is great. The sunsets. Oh my gosh, the skybox in that game is beautiful. The orange tangerine colored creamsicle, sunset in the Mexican desert is just, oh my gosh, my heart is palpitating just thinking about how fun that game is and how special it is. And when I played the Red Dead 2 game and got to the opening area where they open up Red Dead 1's world, because they tacked on and remade most of Red Dead 1's world into Red Dead 2. So it has a larger area. And it was just like, this is a really special game. There's so much amazing stuff about this. Unfortunately, Rockstar let it die. They had this whole online stuff. They added a few DLC, content updates. They never did single player DLC like most. I believe they said they were going to, and then they backtracked on it later on after the game was released. They never did single player DLC, and they let the online die. It's only been out since 2018, and a couple years ago, they basically said, we're not doing Red Dead Online anymore. I think it was last year. No more Red Dead 2 updates. Just the servers are going to go down at some point. Just let everyone do whatever they want. Who cares? We don't care about it. Grand Theft Auto 5, which came out in 2013, is still getting regular DLC for the multiplayer. It's just a bummer. Like, Red Dead is such a better game than Grand Theft Auto. Red Dead 2 is a newer game as well, and it is just getting kicked to the curb, and it's such a disappointment. But that's, again, the landscape of video games right now. We are in this really corporate run type of environment where, screw them. whatever. Who cares? As long as it gives us money. If it's easier to just port over the game and release it at full price, on an older generation console, and we only spend 2 people working on it overnight for a couple nights, yeah, good enough. Oh, millions and millions of people want this to be remade. We don't want to. That's too much work for us. That's the landscape of gaming that we're in. And this is why I'm not playing a lot of big games right now. It's just there's this mentality in video games. It is being run by the wrong type of people, and it's just such a bummer. So that is kind of my conundrum. Do I want to replay Red Dead Redemption? And if so, how do I do it? Because it's really interesting. Digital Foundry, which is a really interesting group. I really like the Digital Foundry people. If you don't know who they are, they're basically these not really journalists, but they report on the video gaming industry, but they do it from a technical analysis. They technically analyze video games. And so they've got ins with a lot of high up people in these Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo. And so they get special, footage, special meetings and stuff like that. And they get to report on the technical analysis of not just video games, but the hardware themselves. How many lines of, resolution do these games run at? And, does it run at a proper frame time and a proper FPS and blah, blah, blah. I think they go a little bit too hardcore. I think they go way too into the depths, but they do some really good work. One of the guys, his name's John Lindemann. I love John. I think he's a fantastic dude. I've talked to him a few times on Twitter over the years. Never had anything, mean to say about him because he just seems like a really cool and interesting guy. He approaches video games from a very similar standpoint that I do, but again, more technical. And he did this video just a few weeks ago about emulating Red Dead Redemption 1 on the Xbox 360 emulator called Xenia, which was the code name for Xbox 360, I believe. That's why that emulator is called that. But you can basically emulate Red Dead in 4K 60 if you have the proper hardware. It's a little bit tough. You have to have a really beefy computer, and unfortunately, hardware is pretty tough to buy nowadays, or it used to. In the last couple of years, it's just been pretty much impossible to get GPUs. That's kind of died down, but everything is way more expensive. GPU prices have skyrocketed and pretty much doubled. A graphics card that cost $600, 3-4 years ago, now costs $1,200. And I'm not dropping $1,200 on a graphics card. It's just not in the cards. I can't justify that right now. And unfortunately, the times that we're living in, inflation and all that garbage that happened because of the pandemic, prices are never going to come down. GPUs will always be $1,200 for, those really good cards. Not even top of the line, high end, but not highest end. And it's a real big bummer. So I unfortunately don't have the hardware to be able to emulate it at 4K 60. I could probably do 10K 60 or 1080p 60, probably just fine. And that's where I'm going, do I want to just replay Red Dead Redemption? And if so, do I want to emulate it and try and get really good? Or do I just want to replay it on the Xbox One X like I did in 2018? And it is up-resed. It does I don't think it has higher frame rates. I think that's the one thing. It still plays at 30, a locked 30 frames per second. But if you emulate it, you can jack up the frames. You can go up to 60. I think you can go up to 120, but again, you have to have really powerful hardware. So that is my conundrum. Do you want to continue playing Dave the Diver? Or do I want to replay Red Dead Redemption? Or do I want to continue playing something else that I've been playing? And I kind of forgot about this, forgot it on the notes, unfortunately. There is a remake of System Shock. It's a Looking Glass Studios game. It is very, very hardcore in its original computer first-person layout. You have an inventory item, you have to move the mouse around, you have to click and drag things, you have to use items, you have to discard them, you have to vaporize them, all this stuff that was standard for first-person shooters on the computer. Everything is so watered down now. And that's what I really like about this System Shock remake is it's bringing back that, hey, when you do something in a video game, you kind of have to do a lot to do that one thing. You have to manage this, and you have to have that, and you have to do this. And it also kind of reminded me when I was streaming the Game of the Month this week as well, and I'll talk about that at the end. But I've just been having a blast kind of playing some of these games and going, video games used to be different. They used to be way more fun. We're in this really bad period of video games right now. Video games aren't fun. They're way too preachy, shoving propaganda down our throats at every possible turn, made by the wrong people, and there's no middle tier. That middle tier of game, that budget game, the licensed games that we got off of movies, right? All of those don't exist anymore. And it's because of the AAA budget / indie just coming together, and the industry is ruled by a certain type of person right now, and it is just crumbling like the movie industry. Both of these entertainment industries are just crumbling because the wrong people are making the stuff that we're trying to watch and enjoy and be entertained by. Enough of me ranting. But that's just the way it is, and it's really nice to be at least able to say that out loud, and hopefully other people listen. Hopefully other people start catching on. It's starting to kind of feel like people are really trying to figure it out a little bit. How many times have you heard someone say, oh, the Marvel movies aren't really good anymore, right? That's what's happening. People are finally understanding, ooh, these aren't really good. And it's because people who are making them are pushing it way too far. They are like not just sprinkling their personal agenda into it, but they are going full hog. They are unashamed by being able to shove this crap down your throat and trying to tell you that you like it. Oh, and now we're getting all this crap about how it's our faults. And again, trying not to rant here too much, but I haven't podcasted for a while. I kind of need to get this off my chest. I loved the Witcher series. I played it back in 2015 when it came out. I was behind closed doors demos a couple years before E3 seeing it. And man, I was just like, dude, The Witcher this is a special property. When Netflix announced that they were going to do a thing, I was skeptical, but I was like, dude, The Witcher's kind of cool, so hopefully Netflix does right by it. The whole Henry Cavill thing just like irked me, especially when they showed off like his wig and stuff. It just like, and the Nilfgaardian armor of the first season, when all those leaks started happening, it was like, dude, this is a doomed project. This is going to be laughed off of the face of the earth. But man, they did such a good job. Henry Cavill knocked it out of the park to the point where I was like, dude, I love this show. And my wife did too. She got really into The Witcher. She watched me play the DLC right after we got married in 2017. And she was like, dude, this is really good. And oh, they're making a Witcher TV show? Yeah, let's watch it. And we did, and we loved it. Second season kind of dropped in quality a little bit. And then this third season, splitting it in two parts. Henry Cavill leaves because of, creative differences and all that fun stuff. And man, you can just tell there has been a complete shift in writing. The people who are writing these shows have something to shove down our throats, and people are starting to go, no, we're done with this. And then we're the ones who are in the wrong. I just read this article about how the showrunner said, oh, you know why season 3 sucks so much? It's because of you, the viewer. You didn't want what we were telling you, and so you don't like what we're trying to do. It's your fault. We had to dumb it down for you dumb, stupid Americans. That's what they said. They literally said it's stupid Americans' fault because they're so stupid and dumb that they couldn't keep up with the storyline. It's like the storyline has nothing to do with the issues of the show. It's all the political, social propaganda. And it's just like, man, are you an idiot? Like, you have to be an idiot not to see this, right? So that's kind of where all of this stuff is happening. Movies, TV shows, comics even. I've been reading a lot of comics and I stopped reading new comics. I was, especially earlier this year, I was really into a lot of newer comics and trying to keep up with them. And then I was like, dude, none of these characters are the exact same. They're name only. Tim Drake is not gay. Sorry. Nope. Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn are not gay. Nope. All these characters are now just randomly gay for no reason. And all this other extra crap where they're just completely taking the characters that we really enjoy and ruining them and perverting them. And it's just, I'm done with it. So I stopped reading new comics. Right now, I'm going through the classic 1980s G.I. Joe comics, and it is so enjoyable. Oh my gosh. And I'm really bummed out that I'm not wearing my shirt right now because my cousin Matt has been on this war path of drawing all these G.I. Joe characters and doing really interesting art. My cousin Matt is a comic book artist, and he's been doing these watercolor drawings of G.I. Joe characters. He's been putting them on Instagram and Facebook, and he's been getting some positive feedback. Someone said, oh man, you should totally make shirts of that. And so he goes, all right, cool. He put up I can't remember the website, Post T, I think it is. He put up a website and started selling the t-shirts. And I was like, dude, you have a Cobra Commander t-shirt? Your Cobra Commander art is awesome. I want this on a t-shirt. So I bought it. And unfortunately, I'm not wearing it right now. Sorry, Matt. But man, it is just so stinking cool. I really am enjoying reading this. The writing, the main scriptwriter is Larry Hama, and apparently he basically did all of the writing for the G.I. Joe comics for pretty much every single issue, like except for a handful of guest writers over like 15, 20 years. I have no idea how long it's been going on. I'm on the 7th volume, so I'm on like issue 65 or something like that. But man, the writing is well done. It's articulate. It's intelligent. The characters have clear motives, clear, characteristics, and they subvert expectations every once in a while, like Cobra Commander right now. Spoiler alert for a 1980s comic. He says, I don't want to be Cobra Commander anymore. I want to turn over a new leaf. And he's actually, as far as I am knowing right now, of like issue 65, he seems legit. He seems like he's really trying to turn over a new leaf. Like, man, what an interesting comic. There's no political agenda, no social agenda, no propaganda. It's just a really fun comic. And that's what I've been doing. That's why I haven't been playing video games so much. I've been like engrossed into these classic comics. I also did that with the Ninja Turtle comics. I've been reading the Ninja Turtle, the classic Mirage, and the IDW comics. I think it's IDW. The more modern 2010 comics of Ninja Turtles. And the first 100 issues are pretty much phenomenal. I say the first 50 are perfect. And then the first 100, so after 50, it kind of drops because they do a lot of like crossover comics and start introducing some new characters, and they don't work that great, but whatever. Still, the first 100 issues, holy crap, it is so good. Because it's written by part of the original team. Kevin Eastman still wrote all those stories, and you got new characters like Old Hob, who's this mutated cat that got mutated with the turtles, and he became, their enemy for a very, very long time in those issues. And man, it's just like, wow, this is such good, enjoyable writing. I don't feel like I'm being preached to or thrown propaganda at. And then after issue 100, they change writing staff. Someone else takes over. Oh, guess how many gay characters there are now? What? It's so unbelievable. I'm just sitting like the Truman Show going, who are you talking to? No one wants this. Who are you talking to? So, oh man, it's infuriating to see this really good stuff just get completely thrown away and tarnished because some stupid writer has a chip on their shoulder about what thing needs to be gay now. How can I push this stupid gay propaganda into people's entertainment? And I'm just done with it, man. I'm so tired of it. It's such a bummer. And like I said, I've been enjoying those older comics more than I've been playing video games. I've stopped playing games in the middle of like kind of enjoying what I'm doing, going, you know what? I could probably read instead and have a much better time reading a comic book from 1980 than this brand new $60, $70 video game in 2023. It is just mind-blowing that I'm thinking that way right now. But again, there's a reason why people like this older stuff, and there's a reason why these remakes are being made, because everything new, not everything, I don't want to be extremist, but most stuff new, it kind of sucks. So that's just kind of how I'm feeling on all of this crap. It's a real bummer. But there are some other new things that are coming out. Like I said, the Red Dead Redemption port right now, it's a bad deal. Don't buy it at all. Do not buy that port for PS4 or the Switch. Emulate it on 360 PSC. Emulate the 360 on PC. Or if you have an Xbox, just buy it for $5 digitally and you get a 4K, I think it's actually remastered technically. They upscaled it to 4K, still locked at 30 frames per second, but you can probably emulate PC with 60 frames per second. There's also another game coming out called Moving Out 2, and I really want to play this game. It comes out like in 5 days. It comes out on the 15th, and my wife and I played the first one, and we loved it. It's one of those couch co-op games, like it's in the very similar same style as the cooking game. Oh man, what is it? I cannot remember. It's not Cooking with Friends. It's Overcooked. That's what it is. Overcooked, where you have at least two people playing on a top-down view, playing these characters that are rushing through a kitchen trying to make food for, an audience or, a place or whatever. And it's a cute little storyline. It's fantastic. They took that concept, the crazy, zany multiplayer couch co-op game, and converted it instead of cooking, you're moving furniture. Which, let's be honest, if you know me, you know how much I hate moving. I hate moving. It is like one of the biggest things in the world that I hate. I've moved so many times in my life and I'm so tired of it. But for whatever reason, I love this game. Even if we were moving, it's not my stuff, so I don't really care. And it's all goofy. It's overly exaggerated, zany type of style where you've got these characters throwing couches out of a, building, having it slide down a snowy hill and land in the back of a moving truck. You do all the stuff that you're supposed to get out, and you jump into the van and you move out. I remember my wife, one night when we were playing, she was a little emotional, and we were playing together, and no joke, when you finish the objectives, you both jump into the moving van, and it takes off and you exit the level and complete it. Well, I threw the thing in. My wife was still at the back of the house area where she was like, just kind of playing around with the physics or whatever, I'd say, all right, cool, we're all done. And I jump in the moving van and it starts driving off and her character's running after the van. And it leaves her and it comes up with the screen saying, hey, you finished this level with this amount of time. You got this many stars. And the screen, if you leave a character behind, the character's running after the truck. And like your character, if you got in, is sitting inside driving the truck and bouncing around or whatever. And the other character who got left behind is running after it. My wife started crying. And I don't mean to be mean about this. It's just one of those funny things. Like she was just so emotional. She's like, you left me. And I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. And then she just started kind of like getting a little bit upset about it. And like she knew she was like not like it was just one of those things where she's like, I know I shouldn't be upset, but I'm kind of upset with you right now. And I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And then we had to stop playing because she's like, I can't play another round right now. I'm going to go in the other room and read. I was like, oh man, I'm sorry. But oh man, that game is so fun. It's one of those games that we really bonded over with too. It was, it wasn't when we were first married, but Overcooked was. When we were first married, we were really trying to learn what types of games we could play together and really have fun. I'm not a competitive person, so I don't like competitive gaming. I don't like one-on-one fighting games or anything. That's why I'm not a fighting game fan. I don't like competitive games. But those types of games, the couch co-op, cooperative type games are really my style. And so we work really well together. So we have a blast. So moving out too, like I'll drop, $30 on that game in a few days so that we can play that game together because man, it's a really fun game. I highly encourage if you are wanting a good couch co-op game with someone, play the Moving Out games. The first one came out a few years ago, so you could definitely play it online and have a blast for a very small amount. But that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, which is not a whole lot. It's just a little bit so that I can, try and get back into gaming. There's a bunch of other games that are coming out in late September, early October, or in November. We're kind of going to start getting into the Christmas time release schedule, and I'm really excited about that stuff. But yeah, I'm not really keeping up with what's coming out lately. And now we come to the next segment, which is the backlog, or the library of games is what I like to call it. Because that's really what it is, right? It's a library. It's a collection of video games that I have available to me at all times. I buy these games and I collect them. So what am I playing in my collection, in my library of games? Well, something just came out yesterday or 2 days ago that I've been really not even paying attention to, but I saw like an update for it like a month ago. And I went, wait, what? Really? They're still updating that game? That game's almost 10 years old? It's a game called BroForce. I remember when this game first came out, I went, oh my gosh, this is so stupid. Because I hate the word bro, because it's always very condescending when someone says it. Like, yo, bro, come on. Bro, what are you doing, bro? I hate that word. But this is taken to like an extreme where it's super manly and masculine. And especially right now, we need those types of games that we don't have anymore. We need that machismo, muscles and, eating meat and potatoes for dinner and stuff like that. Like, let's have a steak. Like those types of, experiences we don't have anymore. So much stuff has just been, ruined and trashed. So having this game be out in the world, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that game. And it's actually really, really fun. If you have never played BroForce before, oh my gosh, you need to play it. What BroForce is, it's a weird side-scrolling pixel game that allows you to play as 80s action stars, basically. But it's not strictly 80 action stars. It is pretty much any action star, and they're called bros. And so to skirt copyright, they tack on the name of the character with bro, and they just change it subtly. You know 100% what the character is. It's 100% that character that they're talking about, but they just change the name into bro. So Indiana Jones is Indiana Bros, or Brones, I think it is. You have the Terminator, which is the Broinator. You have the Rocketeer, even, which is the Broateer, I think. I just unlocked him because I'm replaying the game because a new update came out. It's called Broforce Forever, and it's, I believe, their last update to the game. They've added a new couple characters to it that you unlock, and I think they unlocked, like they have, it's just everyone. It's really incredible. And they did a tie-in with the Expendables movie. So it's called the Expendabros. And I think it was a free, little title on Steam. I think it's like maybe, probably a half hour long or something like that. It's basically the same game, but just with the Expendables, characters instead of their fictitious 80s action stars. You have Command Bro from Commando and stuff like that. So they updated it. They added some new stuff. They added Xene Bro Warrior Princess. So it's Xena, but she's all super muscular. They added Brophy the Vampire Slayer instead of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Steve Brundle, which is Jeff Goldblum's character from The Fly, the Brundle Fly, but it's the Brundle. And what was a couple others? Burt Gummer is Burt Bromer from the Tremors series. Like, super funny, just goofy stuff. Like, obviously, it's all tongue-in-cheek. And, man, it is just bloody and violent and just massively macho, which we don't get a whole lot of that stuff anymore. Again, because the industry is run by a bunch of crazy people. So it's just really, really enjoyable. I love it. It's fantastic. And another game that I've been playing is called BroSmith. Yep, the game that teaches you the guitar. This is my third time trying. I really, really do want to learn how to play the guitar. And if BroSmith can allow me to use I'm looking at it right here. It's right off screen. I have a Fender Stratocaster, and I've never learned how to play it. I just don't know how to play the guitar. A couple years ago, or when it first came out in 2011, I want to say, because it was on the same day as Batman Arkham Asylum came out. I bought it. I bought the guitar, and I said, I'm going to learn how to play a guitar. And I just didn't have the time, so I dropped it. A couple years ago, when we moved out here to Tennessee, I said, you know what? I'm going to finally learn how to play the guitar. I started, and I dropped it. This is the third time. I really, really, really want to be able to learn how to play the guitar. I really want to. So I'm picking it up again. I'm going to try and stream it too. So maybe that will give me a little bit more incentive to be able to play, because I can stream it for like at least half an hour. And that will give me half an hour with a guitar in my hand trying to learn how to play the guitar. So if you want to, pray for me, encourage me, try and keep me accountable so that I can learn how to play the guitar, because I think it's a fun life skill. It's something that I don't know, and I would really like to be able to learn how to play. I don't need to be a virtuoso. I don't need to be the next Eddie Van Halen. I just really want to be able to shred just a tiny bit, be able to, play a few tunes. So that's kind of what I've been playing for my library games. Which comes to the last segment. Takes us to the last segment, which is the game of the month that I've been trying to stream. The last couple of games of the month have been kind of duds for me. Again, just not really been into it. Diablo 4 was last month, and I just haven't bought Diablo 4. I didn't have time or the money to really spend on that, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to play it. So I suggested I think it's 1998 release of Thief. It's a first-person stealth platforming game, or not stealth platform, stealth action, I guess, game where you are a thief called Garrett and you just sneak around. And I remember playing this in high school. I only vaguely remember a little bit. I never finished it, but man, this again harkens back, it harkens back to that older style of game we don't get anymore, where to do one action takes 4 steps. And it is so interesting to be able to play it. It's a little bit cumbersome, but I kind of want that right now. Again, when you need to like clamber up something, you don't just jump and automatically grab the ledge and move up. You have to push forward, jump and hold jump, keep pushing forward, wait until you touch on it, and then you'll start to push yourself up, but you have to continue holding it. And it's got to be in that correct sequence. You can't just run and jump over something. You have to run, touch it, keep pushing forward, keep holding the jump button, and then you will start moving forward and clambering up. Also, like climbing a rope. You jump on a rope in a modern video game, you just automatically attach, you push forward, and you're climbing up, or you push back on the stick and you start climbing down. You actually have to look in the direction you're going. So you need to look up into the sky to be able to climb the rope. You need to actually look up at the rope to climb up it. You need to look down to start moving down it as well. It's just little things like that we don't get anymore in video games. I know that they're trying to push the technical boundaries. They're trying to make everything a little bit more seamless and not as cumbersome, but you lose a lot of that feel, that magic, when you take away those little things sometimes. You know, sometimes when you take that stuff away, it's a good thing. Sometimes when you take it away, it's a bad thing. You just never know, but I noticed it. It was something immediately going, oh, we don't do this in video games anymore. I remember when you had to look up and look down, and when you need to, turn and jump off a rope, you have to angle your body and then be looking at the area, and then you're holding the jump, and you have to, detach, and like just so many little things that we don't have to do anymore because they've all been kind of streamlined. Man, it's really, really interesting, I'll say. But that's kind of what's been going on in my life. That's going to do it for this episode of the Game or Die podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Moore. I love video games. It's my main hobby. It's the thing I like doing in my off time. Sometimes there's good times and seasons. Sometimes there's bad seasons in video games. Right now, unfortunately, I think we're in a pretty bad season right now, and I really hope that it gets better. The way it gets better is don't buy the crap. Don't give your money to this bad stuff that is not good. Stop buying the remakes if you don't want remakes constantly. Stop buying the ports if you don't want ports. Stop buying the stuff just because it's there. You can go back to older stuff. Just don't keep going back to the same thing. That's what I really try and talk to people about on the podcast and on the Discord server, because I do have a lot of people who just play the same thing over and over and over again. They never never experience anything different. When the guy in my Discord server keeps going, well, nothing's grabbing me like Final Fantasy. I'm not throwing suggestions of, hey, you really liked Metal Gear Solid 3, so why don't you replay Metal Gear Solid 3? No, I'm going to suggest a game like Metal Gear Solid in an older time setting, that he might like, that's like that game, but not the exact same thing, because who's that going to help? And that's why I have a really hard time with replaying Red Dead Redemption. Do I want to replay it for a third time? Do I want to devote like 60 hours to replaying that game when I could be playing something new and different Not even necessarily new as in the sense of 2023 new, but new to me. That's really what you should be striving for. If you're really stuck in a rut and you just don't know where to go, branch out a little bit, play something different, do something new. It's so much better. That's what I love about Game of the Month. I never finish, or I really never played the Thief series. I played like 1 or 2 levels. I remember this first level, and I remember the first level in the second game because I think I played the first level in the second game because my friend Nikki told me about it. But I never finished them. I never played much of those games. And so I suggested Thief because I want to play it. I want to enjoy that game series because I never did before. So that's my advice to you. If you want to play or even watch something, if you don't play video games, you're just listening to me because my dad's probably listening, watch something new. Experience something new instead of just rewatching the same thing. And that's what my dad's doing. It's really interesting. My wife and I went through Frasier last year, which I've never seen, and we loved it. And then we started watching Cheers after that, even though we kind of did it the wrong way, right? Cheers was first, then Frasier was the spinoff of Cheers. But I told my parents about it and I said, man, did you guys ever watch Frasier when I was younger? And they're like, no, not really. And so they're watching it now. I just saw on Plex that they were finishing up season 2. Like, how cool is that? And now I get to talk to my parents about Frasier, which is rad because my wife and I love that show. It's probably our favorite show of all time at this point. I would say it's in my top 5 for sure. I just think it's a fantastic show. There's nothing like it on TV now. But I'll stop rambling. You can check out everything that I do online at gameordie.net. You can also catch the stream whenever I stream at twitch.tv/themadman007. But I really like doing this podcast. This is my favorite thing that I do about video games other than playing them. And I do write reviews as well and articles. So check out gameordie.net for all the articles and reviews that I do for video games. But you can also check out the podcast at Game or Die on iTunes, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, or pretty much any podcatcher. Just search Game or Die. You'll find it. It's the purple icon with the Nintendo NES logo. Or controller. That's what it is. It's the NES controller. But thank you very much for watching. I will catch you next time. Peace out.